So City will take on Arsenal in the Carabao Cup final. They, of course, advanced yesterday, winning 1-0 against Chelsea. But really, it was done just in the first leg, wasn't it? Chelsea came out, they tried, but how hard, really, did they have a go at Arsenal? That was a frustrating thing from some Chelsea fans. Liam Rosenior, happy. Not many teams come here and put on the level of performance that we have tonight. Frank, what do you make of that?
Well, it's a positive post-conference comment, and we all know that, and we have seen that for years, especially nowadays. It's true that, especially the second half, Chelsea had many chances to score goals and maybe create a surprise, because I think it would have been a surprise. But at the end of the day, you know, I think they would have done better. They should have done better. And Enzo Fernandez, instead of shooting above the net, could have been more precise. And that's what you need at that moment, that a world champion, you know, doing what we expect from him. And we know that Enzo Fernandez is capable of doing that. I think he can be happy with the way that they carried on playing and try to threat Arsenal, but we saw Liverpool. I think it was Liverpool not such a long time ago being better than Arsenal in the second half, like Chelsea were. So nothing surprising for me. I think he must be frustrated, but it's true that he has to get the positive side of the game, and that was the positive side. His team never gave up.
I don't remember those chances.
No, I don't know what Frank's talking about.
I remember a couple of shots from outside the box, the free kick at the end, some corners. I see a side that played five at the back. I see a side that played Liam Delap on the right wing to try and thwart Arsenal on that side and have that physicality for diagonal balls. And I saw an Arsenal side that didn't really have to get out of first or second gear because they were the team that was in charge. It always felt that Arsenal were in control of the game. It felt that Arsenal knew they had a goal leading the tie, and it felt if Arsenal needed to up the speed and up the tempo, they could. And the big question was on Chelsea to go in there. And I get it, keeping it tight for 45 minutes. But then you've got to go for it. You've got to try and unleash and put some pressure on, because it's go to Wembley or go home. And they didn't do that. And, you know, Man United have been there and played better. Liverpool have been there and played better. There have been others. So these are just words from Liam Rosenior. And I think, like, he tries to sort of baffle people sometimes, and that's pretty obvious early in this tenure at Chelsea with his rhetoric. But I thought it was a pretty pedestrian performance, bearing in mind they were behind in the tie, and I always felt Arsenal, if they needed a kick up the backside to go on and win the game properly, they could have done it.
It's knockout football, Shaq.
Yeah.
Like, that's in that. Craig said, like, 45 minutes, OK, fair enough. Second half, you've got to go for it. You've got to try and create some clear-cut chances. Even if you lose 3-0, at least you're trying.
Yeah, to Liam Rosenior's point, good performance if you come into that leading 2-0. And you set up shop, and not many can deny Arsenal, certainly for, 93 minutes or whatever it was. And so you take that for what it is. But given the fact that you're down a goal, you need one to get yourself back in it, albeit you're at the Emirates. I thought you saw Manchester United do a job on Arsenal a few weeks ago. Listen, Arsenal have responded wonderfully well since then. But Manchester United were able to hurt them on the counter-attack. At times they pressed higher up the park, but never you got that feeling from Chelsea that there was a strategy around how we're going to get a goal or two, or how we're going to respond. Or to Craig's point, when it was, let's just keep it tight, keep ourselves in the game. We've got a couple up front in João Pedro and Delap, and hopefully a mistake will come. Well, anybody who's seen Arsenal play, certainly defensively, mistakes are few and far between, so the game just kind of petered out as you would expect. But there was never that change of approach, or certainly not early enough from Chelsea. And that for me was a disappointing thing, because yes, it's two legs, you're down a goal, you need something to happen. You don't want to go gung-ho from the opening whistle. Arsenal will hurt you. But at some point, you've got to throw some caution to the wind, and I don't feel that ever came.
Chelsea gave Arsenal the game that Arsenal wanted. A kind of dull, slow, lacking ambition for the most part type of a second leg of a semi-final. That was the game that Arsenal wanted. They didn't want Chelsea to come out and play this high energy pressing and try and swarm all over them, because that would have meant they would have had to have worked harder. They would have had to have, played that kind of game, and they wanted to play a controlled game, which ultimately they could. And then Havertz comes on and one or two others, and Chelsea are starting to get his desperation times, and then they get the winner. So they just look. Let's be frank about it. It wasn't a very good. The first leg was pretty good. The second leg was pretty dire. And Chelsea got what they deserved, which is not to go to the final.
Was this a psychological thing from Rosenior slightly, Jürgen, in the sense that, look, we'll go there, but we want to be able to leave with our heads held high, even if we lose?
It might be then. But I think, these cup games, they're different. They're different to the normal league games. And when you have a situation like that, you go into the second leg, you had the goal down, as you guys say, rightfully say, is you need to have urgency from the first minute on, and not just maybe the last 15, 20 minutes when you run out of time and you badly need this, desperately need this goal. And that was lacking throughout the entire game. I think, when you see certain cup competitions now, they played in Germany, they played in Italy now, and obviously in England. Some teams do not recognize the urgency that really cup ties request. There's no other game behind that, after that game. If you lose that game, you're out. You're done. It's not, you cannot correct it on upcoming weekend like in a league game. And there you see some performances from certain teams all over Europe where this urgency is not there, and they then rightfully so leave the competition.
Do you think, Frank, that comes from Rosenior? Do you think he's thinking, look, I've got a good run, I've won 6 out of 7, I don't want to go to Arsenal, try, but leave myself open and get spanked 5-0, because that's going to take away some of the love that I've been getting?
Maybe, but because he's realistic. He has to be realistic. If you open up, you get the urgency that everybody's talking about, and you go for it, you're going to be smashed. He hasn't got the individuals to make it work in that way, because at the back he's not ready for that, especially against an opposition with Saka and some other.
But Manchester United did it, Frank. Manchester United did it with a weaker side, arguably, than Chelsea put out yesterday. So why are you going there with a handbrake on? Why aren't you pushing Arsenal, trying to go for it? Because if you go as the way you suggest and he did, then you're out. You're out whatever you do, but at least go for it. At least try.
No, but you're going to explain that. It's different than the Premier League. It's a League Cup game, and it's different. You are one down, and Arsenal, they knew that, and they were expecting Chelsea to come. They didn't want to come because they knew that they would be smashed back. They could have scored a second goal, because I don't agree with the guys. There are 4 or 5 chances. Yeah, it's not clear chances, and I was naming Enzo Fernandez because he kicked the ball twice above the bar, the crossbar, and he would have been more precise. Maybe it would have been different. And 1-0 would have made Arsenal wondering a little bit more without being, like you said, offensive and urgent in their manners. So you have to be tactically according to your strength. And the strength of Chelsea is for sure not going like crazy, because at the back they're not ready for that.
If you walk away from a semi-final and you haven't got to Wembley or wherever it is, whatever the final is in whatever country, if you walk away and think we've left everything out there, we just weren't good enough. That's. I think as a player you're okay with that, even as a manager, maybe even as a fan. But when you walk away and say, we didn't really go for that today. We were a little coy, we were a little cautious, or a lot cautious, and we've left a lot in the locker room. And I think as a player, that's the last thing you want to do. I'd rather, if I was playing in that game, I'd rather have lost 3-0,
right? Really,
and had peppered the goal,
right?
And had peppered, who was in goal for Kepa.
Yeah,
I would rather have peppered his goal, and it just wasn't our night, and we didn't get to the final. But we've gone to Arsenal, we've had a bash. But they didn't do that. They went there, they were cautious. They tried to do it. They tried to nick the old 1-0, probably take the game a little bit longer, get the crowd restless, but it didn't work. It just didn't work. And these tactics are fine when it works. And when it doesn't, I think you open yourself up for a little bit of criticism. Go there, throw the kitchen sink at it, and then you can look yourself in the mirror at the end of it, Dan, and say, well, just not quite good enough against Arsenal, but we gave it our all. Chelsea didn't do that.
Speaking of tactics,
what?
Do you know where we're going now?
I have no idea.
Loads of people message me. Thank you so much. I love that.
Yes, the corner.
Yes, there it is.
What was interesting?
So they left 3 players up for the corner, which is something you've been suggesting teams should do against
but
Arsenal.
This is not new. This is not innovative. This is just a tactic to try and offset a team that are superb at set pieces, and also they are flooding the 6-yard box. But and it's making life very difficult for the goalkeepers of this world to come out and get a clean punch, because they ultimately ends up being about 12 bodies, 10 or 12 bodies around the keeper. But what was interesting, that the way Chelsea did it yesterday, was not just leave 3 up as soon as the corner was taken, was wait till the corner was about to be taken, and then three or four players sprinted forward.
Right.
And what that did...
It's like your version 2.0.
Yeah. Well, I think that what that's trying to do is catch the opponents unawares.
Okay.
So they've got less time to think about what players they're going to put back. And they did that, and I think they may have only done it once, but I noticed that they did it, and I was saying, please don't score.
Brilliant.
Just going to
that would have been the whole show.
But it's interesting because Robert Sanchez still was under some amount of pressure from the ball that came in, and I think it was Gabriel was still trying to block him, but there was less players and more space to operate. So yeah, I was actually quite pleased to see that.
Jürgen, this is all about obviously trying to ease the congestion in the box for set pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I mean, I've done that quite some time with my teams, and it's a bit about confidence. You know, you want to signal the opponent, hey, you know, whatever you do, you know, you can fill the 6-yard box now with all the guys you have. You know, we leave people out there, and we're right at you. And no, it's a little bit of a mental game that you play with each other. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, then you will get to blame.
We blame Craig. It'd be like my birthday.
Well, lots of people, people sent to me on social media, all these experts, guys that are sitting in the bedroom, never played the game. Well, Arsenal will just do this and they'll just do that. They haven't got a clue. They haven't got a Scooby-Doo, right? And here's the deal.
Normally they're sat in their underwear. Are they in their underwear again?
Probably.
That's where I was last week, apparently.
Probably. Here's the deal. Yes, leaving 3 players up or whatever it is may not have the effect that you want. Arsenal may still score. Probably will at some point. But you can't just keep doing what you're doing as opposing teams. Mm-hmm. And we sit here every week and watch Arsenal do pretty much the same thing to teams, and it's usually Gabriel, and it's usually a ball around to the back post, and there's usually a lot of blocking. You can't keep turning up and telling me, certainly against Arsenal, that getting everybody behind the ball is the right tactic. It's not working, so when it's not working, you've got to do something different. And against an opponent like that is utilising this tool set, this skill set, to get themselves goals, you have to make them think. You've got to do something different. I'm not saying do this, and this is the greatest thing in the world, and this will stop them. It might not. But what teams are doing at the moment isn't having the effect that they want either.